Easy now. Papa got things making headlines.
Come down. Ooh, you make my high come down. Always tripping when you come around. I'ma have to cut you off, like right now. You see, I don't have to drive me. You can say that for your mama. Maybe you should smoke some. Me try the marijuana. I was never you good. The vibe was straight. Showed you a couple of things and they ain't finna change. I treated you right. Everything was a gift from a time to your bag and the color on your lip. Yeah, you plenty of
Welcome to the Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast, powered by The Athletic. Shout out to the company. My name is Michael-Shawn Dugar. You can follow me on whatever the hell Elon is calling that app these days, at Mike Dugar, Mikedugar. Appreciate all the love and support that we have gotten from our people on our YouTube channel, Seahawks Man-to-Man. That's man, the number 2. Man is the name of the channel. Thank you. We appreciate it as we get ready for another season together. Chris, talk to him.
What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Christopher Kidd. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at CKIDD206, and that is CKid206. Quickly on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Did you see the newest thing that he is doing with Twitter? Can't
With
get
the
word
block
out.
thing?
Yeah, you saw that.
Yeah, well, I also read that he can't get rid of the block feature because of it's a requirement for a social media app that's on the Google Play Store and on the App Store.
Oh, look at that.
He really just doesn't know what he's doing. So
We've been on that.
Yeah, very, very clearly. He's just trying to ruin what is easily the best app of this century, like of this era. It's amazing. But anyway, welcome back, guys. We appreciate you joining us. We are coming to you the day after the Seahawks covered the spread against the Cowboys. I love looking at that game in the lens of gambling. As soon as bro got the safety in the fourth quarter, I was like, Vegas is not to be messed with. Vegas is not to be messed with, man. Because what do you know?
7, right?
It was Seahawks -7, which like we talked about on the radio is a very big spread for a preseason game. But Vegas knew that the Seahawks would play their starters and knew that Dallas would not. So that makes sense. And then Seahawks were only up 6, and they probably weren't going to score again, and they weren't going to cover. And then they get a safety and cover. And then Jason Myers misses that field goal at the end. So then it's like, oh, wow. Yeah, Vegas. Do not mess with Vegas. But yes, we're coming to you the morning after the Seahawks covered the spread against the Cowboys. Like we just mentioned, Dallas played. I think I talked with some of my homies who covered Dallas. I think Dallas played like 3 guys who were in the rotation. The dude who sacked Geno, their nose tackle, and then the guy who got bit on the Jake Bobo sluggo. I think his name's Deron Bland, maybe. I think that's it. Otherwise, it was pretty much no one of consequence played for the Cowboys, whereas the Seahawks, not for some reason, but Pete has identified game number 2 of the preseason as one where he'd like to play his guys. You guys remember that's when DK played last year. Tyler, I think they all started against the Bears, played like a series or 2. So whatever it is about game 2, Pete likes that. They played pretty much all their guys except, let's see if we can name off the top of their head, Chris, who didn't play? Bobby. Who else didn't
Quandre
play?
didn't play.
Quandre didn't play.
Tariq didn't play. Did
Reek.
he play one series or no?
No, Reek didn't.
Nope.
Ken Walker did not play.
No, what about Uchenna? I know he was dressed.
Chenna played.
He played one series or something, one snap?
Yeah, I think he played the first series, and then when Jay Reed got the sack, I think he came out, and then Draymond Jones also came out. Like that was the end. And I don't think Mario Edwards played.
I don't think he did either.
Yeah,
No.
so that pretty much that was it. So other than that, you got most of the starters on both sides of the ball for the Seahawks, which as much as we don't like the starters playing in the preseason, like shout out to Mike McCarthy for being a forward thinker on that. It was good to see those guys, for however long some of them played, even Tyler Lockett just playing for like a snap or 2.
He didn't catch it, ladies and gentlemen.
Yo, hey man, Tyler, come on, dog. You gotta get your feet down. Oh,
it's preseason.
And that's not a ball he should have jumped for because he caught it with his chest. He should have. If he catches it with his hands, he can drag his toes. Hey, he knows that though. If I'd have known that after the game, though, I would have said something in the locker room. I went into the locker room thinking he caught it. I even wrote that he caught it. It wasn't until my editor hit me while he was reading my story. He was like, "Hey, I'm gonna leave this sentence in there that Tyler caught this out route, but just so you know,
He did not.
he did not." I was like, it's like you shitting me. Hold on, let me go back and look. And what do you know? He didn't catch that. But yeah, it was nice to see those guys because if week 1 was about the young dudes, which we talked about, it's nice that week 2 was about dudes who actually, are going to play, and they produced some good, Chris, and there was some bad, deep sigh with the bad.
But that's always how it is.
We want to start. Let's go. We should bounce back and forth, but let's start with good. Let's start with something.
Should
we start with in the good category?
There's so much to start with. Where do you want to go? Do you want to go with your boy Bobo? Do you maybe want to look at JSN or Charbonnet? Maybe someone from the defensive line who keeps flashing. BM, not baby mama.
I like Jackson. I like Jackson. Yeah, we're not calling boy BM. He needs
something better.
He needs a better name. Mike Robinson on the broadcast called him Bouye.
It's okay.
It kind of sounds like a version of the joint that they were chanting for Ali. I know it's not. It was Boumaye, but
no, I know it. Yep.
Yeah, when he said it, I was like, oh, but yeah, like, come on, Mike, you gotta get the guy's name right. But yeah, let's start with JSN, man. I saw somebody tweet this morning, and they're right. It was like there's no more player evaluation doesn't get easier than Jackson Smith-Njigba. And perhaps that's not like exactly right, because like Andrew Luck was a pretty easy one as well, for example. But like for this class, it's so easy to see how to use Jackson Smith-Njigba. Like some teams, it's like, oh, how is it going to fit in this scheme? Does he fit this scheme better than this? It's like, no. It's so easy to watch Jackson in the Rose Bowl, and you're just like, I know exactly how I can use that guy. And then you watch that crossing route. He has a couple other catches too, but then you watch that crossing route that we're showing here right now on the screen against I think the corner's name is like Eric Scott or whatever. And you're like, yes, that's it. That's exactly it. Chris, from the release to the route, which he like bends back vertical, which is great because otherwise that ball just goes out of bounds. From the release to the route to the tracking to the yards after catch, it was like, oh, I mean, John Snyder probably took a shot at Casamigos after that play. For real, because that's like everything you want right there in one. I mean, we'll talk about with the one thing you do want after that. But, Chris, everything you want from the release to the route to the catch to the yak, you're like, oh, my goodness. This is exactly, it's like the scene. It's like the ending scenes from the first two Bad Boys movies where it's like, from now on, that's how you do this. Yep. Boom. It's like, yo, this is, I was like, yeah, that's why you draft Jackson Smith-Njigba. Just a perfect encapsulation of everything that can be when he's playing with Geno and Tyler and DK.
Well, yeah, for starters, they come out in a look that is man-to-man and automatically, I mean, you've seen it in practice. Guarding JSN one-on-one, manned up, that's not something you're going to win a lot. And this is a perfect example of him winning, running the shallow cross up the field, getting some depth, obviously, on it, tracking it, late hands, connection, and he does the thing that we all know he's supposed to do, making big plays, not fast enough to get in the end zone, though. That's something he got to work on, just finishing. But other than that, as you mentioned, this is what the Seahawks drafted him for. He's going to get a lot of opportunity in this scenario where he will have one-on-one, and he just has to win. And 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, he is going to win. A great route, perfect play action pass. And on this drive here, the Seahawks just ran play action, or they ran it, and the Cowboys kept coming up. They got a look that they wanted for this play, which was JSN coming across the field and bending it upwards, and wow, money. Should have scored if we could be, real stiflers on it, but this is what JSN does. Makes the big plays, gets them in position to score if he doesn't. And what do the Seahawks do? They punch it in. So this was just perfectly drawn up. We talked about it off wax. You're giving credit to Shane Waldron doing his thing on this drive here, and you see it. It's a great play call, great execution, and you guys see what Drew Lock can do when he has a good pocket and he can throw it. He just looks the part. Then there are times, as Mike alluded to last week, where he makes a little bonehead decision here and there. But obviously we're talking about the good here, and this was one of the standouts alone, and that's JSN.
Yeah, I think the corner that Jackson beats on this is his name is Eric Scott Jr., like 6th round pick. So probably not a guy that's going to be in the Cowboys rotation. But what stands out to me about, because sometimes you got to project a little bit, like, all right, what if this was the starters? So the way Eric plays this is kind of interesting because it looks shallow at first, and Eric looks like he's going to jump it. Like very similar to the ball that Tariq jumps that turns into a pick six against the
Lions.
Who was that? The Lions last year. Thank you. Like it's a kind of similar concept. It's like, all right, I can jump the over route and take it to the house. And it looks like Eric tries to jump it, and then that's when Jackson adjusts and then Drew adjusts. Just great by those two. What stands out about that is if you kind of project like how that would work against some starters. Well, the Cowboys have Trevon Diggs, who we all know. If you watch any Trevon Diggs, he would try and jump that the same way that Eric did. Like that's exactly how Trevon Diggs would probably play that. Because Trevon Diggs is thinking that when the ball's in the air, that he's the one who should score. Great mindset. But he would play that ball like that. The other thing that you can kind of imagine is I think on the other side of that formation, I think it's Cody Thompson running it over, and he runs it as a little deeper than Jackson. So the safety chooses the deeper threat. Good call by the safety. And that's something that's going to happen in reality too. When you have DK running that or Tyler running that, the safety's going to choose DK or Tyler running that because you just have a smart safety, that is. Because if the safety tries to drive on Jackson's route, it's a touchdown to DK or DK or Tyler, probably DK, because DK has been killing on these routes in practice. So like that play, I know it was against, I don't even know who the safety was on that play. I think it's number 40. So like I said, the Cowboys didn't play a lot of dudes, but the way that it was drawn up, the way that it was played, you can imagine how that would look against pretty much any team starters, but particularly Dallas, who has a team has a really good secondary. And that route, the way Jackson ran it, would work against a Diggs. It would work against a Stephon Gilmore, who I forgot that they had. Like, yeah, that's Chris. It's one play, but Jackson in both games has really showed exactly what you want to see. He showed what he was in the most guys you want to show. You want them to show what they were on their college tape, maybe even take a leap. But Jackson just like, as long as you look like what you look like in the Rose Bowl, it's good. Just do everything you did in the Rose Bowl
and more money
in the pros. No notes, no complaints. Like he caught everything. He was great after the catch. He ran great routes. Yeah, Jackson's gonna be something, man. That's the first thing that came to my mind when I tweeted it too. When he caught that, I was like, he's gonna be a guy. You can just see it. And I did like from Drew Lock after the game where Drew Lock was like, yeah, his pregame meal is Chipotle. I would advise Drew for that not to be his pregame meal, but that's okay. He said though on Saturday he saw Jackson there getting Chipotle as well. And then after the game, he's like, Jackson, do you usually eat Chipotle? And Jackson told him, nah, I don't. But today I was feeling Chipotle. And Drew was like, well, that's why you got caught at the one. Eating Chipotle instead of whatever you normally eat. So you can go back to what you normally eat. So you stop getting caught at the one. Because, yeah, I'm pretty sure if they're watching film right now, maybe they're watching it on Monday, guarantee they are just replaying this, putting some memes together or something with Jackson getting caught. Because he should not have got caught from behind, Chris.
Yeah, shouldn't have got caught. But I want to point out the part where you talked about Cody Thompson, because here it is. We have it in, obviously, for our YouTube viewers. Mike broke it down perfectly. You have Cody, who is on the left side of the screen, number 13, and Jackson obviously on the right. And he runs it just as you said it, Mike. Safety ends up coming over, taking it. Oh, and too late. Wide open, JSN. And like you said, that's just going to continue to happen in the regular season. When do you let DK beat you deep? Tyler Lockett? Oh, JSN. So in those scenarios, you're going to see a lot of plays where JSN is going to have the middle of the field and he's going to take it. The option is there, and that's why the Seahawks took him, because he is going to create so much for the Seahawks team on obvious third downs when they need a conversion. And that's great to see that he was able to get there. Unfortunately, again, he didn't score, but that's what he does, man. This is JSN in a nutshell, 100%.
Yeah, he got a score on that. But yeah, great play. I like what Tyreek Smith told us after the game. He was like, that's just a taste of what he's able to do. And I'm like, oh yeah, give me some. Inject that into my veins, man. That's just gonna be fun to watch. What else we got in the good?
Your boy.
Should we go? Yeah, let's go. Bobo's fine. I like Bobo, man. There's probably hasn't been a better like your boy call on on this show than Jake Bobo, because I think it started in what, mini camp or something like that. The Bobo
early.
being my boy, yeah,
Early.
very early on. The Bobo train left the station there with, and now it's got some passengers, boy, because he is just doing something every game. I mean, and I say every game, I'm including like the mock game. Like he's been doing his thing, dog. And Holton, I talked to Holton Ahlers after the game. Really cool dude to talk to. He mentioned that he actually, I think Holton threw at East Carolina, and this is like in pre-draft stuff, or maybe over the summer. He didn't specify. He threw at East Carolina, and Jake, who transferred to UCLA from Duke, was up at Duke, not too far. I ain't been there, so I don't know. But he was saying they were able to throw like 3 times a week. So he knows Jake as well as probably anyone on this roster, other than Charbonnet, who played with him last year. But he mentioned too, what we've talked about on this show, there's really only 2 things receivers can control: whether you get open and whether you catch the ball. All that other stuff is not up to you. If you control the 2 things that you are largely in control of, and you will always be a quarterback's best friend. And that's what Holton mentioned too. He was like, speed don't matter. He's like, in my mind, I'm like, it can't, because he ran 4.9. But I didn't say that. I didn't. In my head though, I was like, well, well, good thing it doesn't right here. But he's right. He said it unprompted. He's like, if you get open and catch the ball, that's it. That's your job. And then hold on to it, obviously, because Jake fumbled at the end. But yeah, you get open, catch the ball. Chris, I think, what is Sluggo? Is Sluggo your favorite route?
I would say there's a couple of my favorite routes. I got so many routes. I like the whip route, also known as the pivot. And actually, if you watch Kobe Parkinson on the bottom of your screen, the biggest dude out there on the bottom screen, he's right in the 2nd and 9. You can see him. He runs a pivot route, a whip route, and he's open too. Bang, wide open. So there was options there if Bobo didn't get it. But obviously, we're showcasing Bobo, and Mike talked about Sluggo being one of my favorites. Shout out to Jordy Nelson. That was the first time I saw it. Jordy was probably the king in running the Sluggo when he was with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. But top of the screen here, you see Bobo lined up. It looks like Geno calls they're blitzing here, but it doesn't matter. He knows what Jake is doing, and I think he's looking at Jake the whole time, to be honest. And we'll go ahead and roll it. Pivots inside. Oh, my goodness. And the separation he creates. The ball is in the air. The DB is at the first down marker.
He is cooked. And that Bobo is, by the way, I think a guy that plays in their rotation. Yeah, that's Deron Bland. My Cowboys homie say that's their nickel. So he's playing outside. But either way, he plays. And boy, he got cooked.
I think the Seahawks watched the tape on this team last year, or maybe in the first preseason game, and they love biting. We talked about Diggs, Trayvon Diggs, who jumps everything. I think that's how Dallas plays. They're just a team that wants the ball. And the Seahawks are like, okay, cool. We're going to run double moves on you guys, and we're going to see how disciplined you are, even though we think you're going to jump this. And the Seahawks are right on the money. In their goal, pushed up against their goal line, and they were able to test them out. And wide open is Jake. The ball was a little underthrown, but hey, you know what? What did you say, Mike? There's 2 things that the receivers control.
Get open.
What are they, Mike? And catch the ball.
Catch that thing. That's it. You do that, and you are good every time.
And that's what Jake does week in and week out. And that's just great for him. This guy is likely going to make the roster, and he keeps showing why. He is valuable. And remember, this is Geno Smith, the starting quarterback. It's not Drew Lock. He's building rapport with Drew and Geno, which is a great sign. It's not that, it's Drew Lock and he's playing with the 2s and 3s. He is playing with a starting quarterback for the Seahawks. And on this play here, he gives him a shot. That's unheard of usually in those scenarios. An undrafted guy is probably not getting the ball in this scenario. It's going to go to Parkinson down here at the 10 doing a whip route. It could go to JSN, who also does a whip route from the opposite side. But instead, it's for Jake. That's just, you don't see that often. And that just gives credit to Jake and his ability to get open, and the quarterback trusts him. When you have those trust with your quarterback, it's going to be tough for the Seahawks to say, yeah, we're going to have to cut you, as opposed to, we want to keep you. There's something valuable here. And obviously, he might not get that many passes in the game, but who knows what happens in the future. And Jake has definitely proven to be someone you can count on. Because what down is this, Mike? 2nd and 9? Yeah, 2nd and 9. I see it there. So this is, hey, we need to make a play here. We're backed up. We need to make a play. And you go to Jake Bobo, and fireworks. Him and JSN doing what they need to do, especially someone that's undrafted. JSN, obviously, he's projected and expected, whereas Jake, well, what is he going to bring to this team? You see it week in and week out, and I think he solidified himself as a receiver on the Seahawks unit for sure.
Yeah, he should make the team. It's not going well for some of the other guys who also play on the outside too. That's working in his favor. You need a little bit of luck and some help there if you're an undrafted guy. Because like Derek, I think all of the passes to Derek were incomplete yesterday.
Yeah, 2 dropped, if I'm not mistaken.
He had one, definitely dropped the one from Geno. The other one was like a really bad go ball. The other one was I think they were all go balls. I feel like no, one got broken up.
Was that the slant?
Yeah. One got broken up real late by somebody. I can't remember. But it's just like I was looking at my notes after the game. I'm like, yo, 83. Did 83 catch the ball? It's not that it wasn't, it wasn't entirely his fault. It was just like all the passes to him were incomplete. He's only logged with 3 targets, but I think some of those got wiped away because of penalty. But yeah, it was not a great showing by. The ball is not getting in Derek's hands, which is unfortunate for Derek. And then Eskridge also plays on the outside, and then he's got the knee thing. He's getting suspended. So it's all just, and then Cody Thompson, another guy who plays there as well. And then what do you know? He's got a shoulder injury. He re-injures it yesterday. So everything's looking up for Bobo. And undrafted guys need that. You need guys to either underperform or get hurt in front of you, and you need to stay healthy and perform. Make the most of your ops there. Like you mentioned, he's probably gonna be like the 5th or 6th receiver. So he's not at a point where he's probably getting a ton of targets. However, I say that, and we are right about that. But it makes me think at the same time about that one John Ursua target.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
In the 2019 regular season finale. I don't know the down and distance, but John got his first target in the last game of the year with the NFC on the line, because the winner of that game was going to get the 1 seed, the loser getting the 5. And he catches the ball like at the 1 instead of being in the end zone, which changes. I don't joke when I say this. It changes everything. That's the difference between them getting the 1 seed that year, and the Niners end up going to the Super Bowl, and the Seahawks end up losing, I think, at the Packers that year because they had to go from Philly to Green Bay. Now, I don't know if the Seahawks would have won the Super Bowl that year or even made it. I think they would have made it and probably lost to the Chiefs. But the fact that they couldn't even sniff that because of something just so small. I mean, that's pretty crazy. That's the game where Jake Hollister ends up not scoring right in the goal. But if you guys remember, John's first catch is right there, the 7th round rookie. So you never know. Maybe Jake, if that happens to you, get in the end zone.
Well, to give him some credit, Jake is also 6'5". He'd probably be in the end zone. If he ran the same route, just schematically, he is going to be in the end zone. Obviously, everything changes when the ball's thrown, but just given his height, weight, and everything, touchdown.
And also with Jake, one thing that's, because I think I've mentioned on here several times now because he's my boy. I did watch some of his stuff at UCLA when I went back to watch Zach Charbonnet. He didn't look super fast on tape. He did look open a lot. I mean, DTR threw him the ball a ton. I feel like he and Charbonnet were their whole offense. What has looked a little different in practice and in the games is he seems to have more wiggle here. And maybe that's because I'm just seeing more man-to-man reps than the zone that Pac-12 teams were playing, perhaps. But he has a lot of wiggle. You can see it on the touchdown he caught in week 1 where he just barbecues that corner. And like even on the sluggo, he has some wiggle. He caught like a whip route, your other favorite. This was in practice the other day. But I was like, man, that he dropped his hips really well for a dude who's 6'4", 208, 207, whatever. So yeah, good for him, man. He makes the good section of the podcast for back-to-back weeks. And I would be, if there was outrage when Kason Williams didn't make the team in 2017, whatever that was,
that up, Mike. I'm sorry.
There will be pitchforks for real at the facility January 6th at the VMAC if Jake Bobo don't make this team. People are going to be very, very upset inside the building and outside the building because he's doing the right things.
I didn't even want to bring that up, man, because that's all I could think about. I was going to text you about it, but then I said, you know what? I'm not going to put that in the atmosphere because I just didn't want to say that.
Well, I think the difference is the injuries and stuff that Kaysen didn't get to benefit from, although he should have made it over. It's a white guy that made it over him that year. 10 or something.
Tanner McAvoy?
Yeah. I think he made it over him that year. So yeah, that was part of it. Jake better than that though.
Oh yeah,
Jake's hashtag more Bobo, man.
we got one more
Hashtag
good, I
more
believe,
Bobo.
Mike.
There's two more I want to
Two
get
more?
to.
Okay.
One on offense is
Oh yeah, we just
Charbonnet.
talked about him. Yeah.
With Charbonnet, man. I think that Charbonnet is just like Jackson, looking exactly like what he was in college. And for Charbonnet, you would like him to have like the breakaway speed, some other guys drafted in that range at running back have. But the fact that he doesn't have it, it's okay because you can see that he does. He's still the complete package. I think he can get out in the open field. Who did he run over last week a bunch of times? Some safety from the Vikings.
Lewis Seen.
Yeah, just kept trucked that brother like 3 times last week. So you see he could be physical, and then you see he can get in the open field as well. I liked that he tried to go back into dude and try to score. Unfortunately, that's just not his bag. That if he's in the good section of this podcast, but if there's something to nitpick, very similar to Jackson Smith-Njigba, like you can see the the elite speed just not there with Jackson and Zach. Because if they had that, it probably would have been top 10 picks or something like that, and they wouldn't be on the Seahawks. Because Ken probably scores on that. I feel like if we had to take like a straw poll of our listeners, like, hey guys, do you think Ken scores on that play? The answer is probably yes. But I do like Zach's vision. He's not slow. And between getting in the open field and running folks over week 1, like I love when I'm on the same page as Pete and we ain't got to talk about it. Like I was walking to the interview room and I was like, going through my notes. It's like, man, like I don't even think Zach should play in week 3 because I was like, I've seen it. I've seen enough of Zach. Like I don't. In my head, I was like, "There's no mystery to what. I don't need. He don't need to prove nothing else to me." And then it's crazy. I missed the first part of Pete's press conference, and then I get in there late. He's talking about I think either Tyreek or Zach first, but he talks about Zach pretty early. And the thing he says is, "We know exactly who we have." I was like, "I love you, Pete. We here." Because that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, because some of these guys I want to see more from them, but like Zach and JSN, what's been really good about the preseason is after 2 games, I'm like, yep, I know exactly what the Seahawks have, and those guys don't need to see nothing else. They got exactly what they were hoping to get. They got exactly what those guys were in college. And with Zach, that's a dude who will run you to hell over. And if your blocking is not sound, he can get in the open field. Maybe he'll take one of those to the house at some point, but even if he don't, like. That's probably one of the guys who are going to play in the regular season. That's probably the most explosive run that they had in the preseason. So, yeah, he shouldn't play next week because everything that they've wanted out of him, like he's giving a little bit of everything. All he's got to really do now is like catch a swing pass, like he did at UCLA. Other than that, like yeah, he's on it in the preseason.
Damn all that. Give him a screen. Screen game's working. I've seen practice.
It did working. You saw the game was screen week 1, right? You saw that, right?
Hey, it's week 2 now. We're moving on. Don't you do that. We're moving on. Week 2.
Him a screen.
It's over. But week 3, he's not going to play, obviously, because we get what he's doing. But regular season week 1, go ahead and throw Charbonnet on 3rd and 3. Throw a screen pass just so I could text Mike and say, see ya.
Have you seen these screens in the games? They're not working.
Well, you talk about week 1. They didn't run a screen.
Did they run a screen yesterday?
I don't think they did.
Shane, thank you. Shane's watching the same film as the rest of us. He sees that them joints are not working. They are working in practice, which is why I can see the thought. They are definitely working in practice. Jackson, the ones that Jackson in particular tend to work in practice. Maybe he is saving those, but those other ones are just not working. They are not. It doesn't matter who's the coordinator, who's the lineman, who's the coach, what the name of the stadium is. They just don't work. And it's not even just like I'm being an asshole about it. We can all see it.
Tape.
We can all see it does not work. Yeah, I don't think Shane called one. I I feel like DJ Dallas caught something short
Yeah.
yesterday.
Oh, it wasn't you talking? Well, that's different. Never mind. We're talking
No,
about
he
the five jet
didn't. He
sweep.
didn't. There wasn't a screen yesterday.
Okay, I didn't
There
think
you
so.
go, Shane. Shane is growing as a play caller. I'm serious, man. Stop running them. You're blowing a down. It just does not work. Okay, this is my screen rant now. I don't like that teams, and Seattle does this, a lot of teams do this, but they run screens on like 3rd and a million. And it's just like, guys, it's an offensive league. DBs don't get their head around. You are far more likely, in my mind, to throw that joint up and get a ball, something to happen in your favor than you are to get a screen on 3rd and 18 or whatever. Throw it up. That DB probably won't get his head around. Maybe your safety gets there too, or the safety gets there too early. Maybe your guy catches it. I feel like there's just positive outcomes associated with the just heaving it up there if you got a guy like that. You know where there's not positive outcomes? A screen. Do not run a screen.
I feel you that on 3rd and 19, I'm with you. But 3rd and 3, you can catch him sleep. I think go for it, especially with Zach Charbonnet. Just do it. Or Jackson. I know you said JSN does it in practice. Hey, Shane, if you're listening, Chris Kidd is on your side. 3rd and 3, throw it to Zach Charbonnet on the screen. Throw it to JSN. Make Mike go, oh, it worked. It's almost to the effect of Curry does a crazy dribble, and Steve Kerr like, no. Okay. You know what? It worked. That's where Mike's going to be. No, Shane. Ooh, okay. All right. Don't do it again. But we call that growth, Mike. Growth. That's all I want to see. Growth. So, Shane, week 1, I want you to throw a screen to Charbonnet. I want Mike to lose his mind and then go, okay, don't do it again.
No, man, I just don't want to see. He's doing good. The growth is in watching the film of week 1 and seeing like, well, we shouldn't run that anymore. And they did not.
The one play the Seahawks should not run anymore, we talked about off wax, was the jet sweep to DJ Dallas. And then that erased that. That shouldn't have happened. I don't know what the Seahawks saw and thought, you know what? We'll catch him here. Let's kill that. I think the fly sweeps in general are just not working. They ran one to K Johnson last week too, just not 2 yards. Didn't work.
It doesn't. It's hard if they don't have the corner because the DB who's there is squared up already to the line of scrimmage, and your guy is running towards the sideline. So he is unlikely to shake the guy. It's just the angles of that are not in your favor. It's just not, you know. So yeah, to throw that out. Don't do that.
Unless you have Tavon Austin running that play, get it out the book.
Or Robert Woods. Robert Woods was just to smoke these guys on there.
Yo, the Ram. Hey, that's all they ran.
I think Debo smoked them on that before too. So everybody else in the division can do it.
It's not the Seahawks.
No, they don't got it, and that's fine. They have other weapons.
Ran into DK, he runs straight to the sideline. I'm like, hey, bro, you got to go upfield. You're like, I need you to pivot and head south. West.
It's just hard to stop and then cut up. So yeah, I just don't. The same play that Overshown linebacker got hurt on. He's on Dallas. It's like I think he gets hurt on a check down to Zach. But it was very similar in that, like when your guy catches it and his shoulders are to the sideline, it's just throw those plays out. Just don't like those plays. We got one more good on defense. Is this Trey? We got Trey coming up. That's right. Yeah, man. I think Trey played a lot yesterday too. I didn't expect him to play that often. I was like, what's going on? And then Pete mentioned that they were just dinged up at corner. Although I feel like they could have played Lance Boykin if they really wanted to. He's been getting a lot of reps in practice and stuff like that. Trey, man, the guys who have to grind through the injury stuff, man, it's always really encouraging to see them. I don't care if they play well. It is nice to see them get out there and just have a moment, even if it's something. It doesn't have to be a big interception or something, but even just make a tackle. Just like have your moment. Like BBK last week, it was really cool to see him get out there because that rehab for his knee was rough. The Seahawks have had tons of guys have to come back from injury. Tyreek Smith, I was thinking of him in that same regard last week. Guy who had to miss all of last year, just couldn't ball. But yeah, for Trey, just off that note, great. But in terms of the play, Chris, that's how you win a job.
Yeah,
right there.
Get your hands on the football.
Get your hands on the football. while also stopping a touchdown. Like that's the not underrated because everybody saw it, but that's a really important part of that play too. It's like it looks like they are going to score, and instead you rob them of that by jumping. He baited the quarterback a little bit, so that's how you know a corner's in his bag. He's like, I'm gonna bait you. I'm gonna make you think you can throw this. I think what did the dude run there? Did he run like a post? I feel
I
like
can't. Actually, let's see. He must have because he starts off on the side near the. He's at the numbers, and then he comes inside. So it's either a dig route or a post. Based on the angle,
yes.
I can't tell. So it's one of the two.
Yeah, one of the two. Either way, it's something that breaks inward. And Trey, he's got his deep third, sits on it, jumps it perfectly. I thought it was a good read by him. He mentioned that he had cramps the play before. He wanted to come off the field. He was like, "I'm gonna get off this field one way or the other," and then gets the interception. I thought that was kind of funny, but the cornerback battle has been so tight in practice that these games are going to matter so much. Like I wrote like guys whose stock is up and whose stock is down. And then this was on Friday, this came out. In the third section of that story, I mentioned here's the guys who can boost their stock if they play. I mentioned Mike Jack and Tre Brown. And we'll get to Mike Jack after this. Trey, I thought, boosted his stock. I think someone asked Pete Carroll. I wasn't in the room for it, but I listened to the replay. Someone asked Pete Carroll after the game, was like, did Tre Brown win a job last night? He said no, not necessarily to this point. He got to watch the film, which is the right answer there. There's no reason to declare a starter on August 20th or 19th or whatever. But Trey did play well. Man, look here. You want to be a corner, you want to make the team in Pete Carroll's defense, get your hand on the ball. Get your hand on the ball and don't give up anything deep. Like those are the two things right there. That's what Tariq Woolen was really good at last year. Not only did he lead the league in interceptions, Tariq wasn't out there getting cooked either. We talked a little about Trevon Diggs earlier on the Cowboys. That boy gets cooked. He gets pick sixes, he also gets cooked. Really good corner, but he be getting barbecued. So Trey did a good job yesterday of like, all right, making sure they don't test you because you're doing your job in coverage. He tackled really well a couple times, which I thought was notable because Trey had a pretty bad missed tackle in week 1 in the flat. I think it was on like a backup tight end or something too. They ran something similar. Trey one-on-one with the bigger guy, and he drops him. So I thought that week-to-week improvement was good. And then, his interception was already a pretty solid night from him. And it just – if Mike Jack was leading the competition and Trey was trailing coming into this game, at the very worst, I would say it's deadlocked. I would say probably – I would say because Mike probably had a little bit of a lead, just a smidge, because Mike has been really solid. He's making plays in practice, and he played last year, so he's got all that wealth of knowledge that from all those snaps. But now it's Chris. I would probably say it's probably deadlocked, and now they're in the position where both of those guys should play against the Packers. Like
to be honest,
they should.
Dare I say, I think Trey took the lead based
on
the performance, right? Both of those guys had an opportunity yesterday to make plays. One guy did, the other guy didn't do so much. And one guy really improved, as you hinted, from week 1 to week 2. He clearly watched the film. He tackled better. He actually got an interception, made a play on a ball. That, I think, takes into consideration. Obviously, you did mention there's one more preseason game left. Both of those guys will probably play. And then based on that performance, one will be the starter, obviously, if Devin Witherspoon is not healthy and available week 1 against the Rams. All that being said, Trey really, I think, put himself in position to take the step up. So if you said they're both locked, so let's say they're both at 8 and 8, okay? You need 10 to be a starter. I think now with this game against the Cowboys on Saturday night, he got to 9, and Mike Jackson's at 8. It's very close. I think it's still there, but I think he just made the extra play that Seahawks defensive staff is thinking, we trust this guy a little more. We trust him to do A, B, and C. He got his hand on the football. The Seahawks got the ball back on offense, which you alluded to. Catch the ball, make a play on defense. Don't let the other team score points. He did that, and I think that just gives him just the edge for this week. And again, next week, who knows what happens? Mike Jackson can come out and have an incredible game. Tre Brown can have an incredible game. And now it's, damn, okay, now what do we do? And it's back to how do we figure out who's going to be the starter if Devin isn't ready and we haven't seen anything from him in the preseason. What do we do now? That's how it could come down to it. But I really love how Tre played on Saturday, and I thought you could tell he was motivated. And then the quote that you mentioned, okay, I'm cramping up, but I'm not going off on the field like this. And then for him to get that interception, that just speaks to his passion, his drive, and how he wants to be a part of this defense and make plays because he can. That's why the Seahawks drafted him. They saw something, and you saw him at Senior Bowl a few years back, and you were like, who's nice? I know he's a little undersized, but Tre Brown. Unfortunately, injuries derailed him, but here he is battling back to be with that unit, to be alongside Tariq Woolen, Quandre, Bobby, all these guys that he's been around in the locker room. He has an opportunity now to really make a case for him to be a starter on the outside, even though he is undersized. He made a play there, jumped up, made the catch, returned it. That's all you can ask for. And I think, again, he has a slight edge over Mike Jackson right now, I think. Although Mike alluded to the point that, hey, it's knocked in. They're both battling for the same spot. I do think that Tre just has the small advantage.
So the difference between those two, it's actually kind of really subtle, but I think it's important. Mike is very, yesterday notwithstanding, of course, really consistent on a play-by-play basis. Not too high. Like, he'll get his hands on the ball here and there. Not too high. Not too many lows. Like, not there getting barbecued really. But also it's not like, oh man, look at that interception Mike Jack just had. I think he caught one in practice this year. I can't remember. I had to check my Twitter or something, or check my notes. But the point is, he's not too volatile, pretty consistent. Like, if he was a chart, the chart would not have peaks and valleys. Like, it's pretty consistent. Whereas Tre is a little bit more volatile. I think I tweeted this. I've stopped doing practice observations, but there was one day that I did tweet it. Tre got beat by DK on like a red zone rep. DK scores a touchdown. I think it was like a fade ball. The very next rep, Tre breaks up a third down play to DK in the red zone, same spot. So that kind of shows a little bit of what you get. He's not full on like Marcus Peters or Trayvon Diggs, like those dudes, like we mentioned. They just get barbecued, but then they try to make up for it with a pick six, and then they do, which is why those guys got paid. That's why they've been all pro. That's why they've been Pro Bowlers. Like, there's a reason why those guys are who they are, right? They are good corners, but that style of corner is not for everybody. But I think Tre is like kind of in the next tier. Like, he doesn't get barbecued, but he can have plays where he gives up something. Maybe it's not something big, but just gives up something. It happens in practice. Like, you guys have seen some of the one-on-one footage we've been able to tape. Like, he had some really, like, the first day I did one-on-ones, my thread, that's a good example of Tre too. Like, I think Tre like locks up Tyler Lockett to the point where the quarterback doesn't even throw it. I've also seen Tre get an interception in one-on-ones. I couldn't post that clip because of the rules, but like he picked off Geno in one-on-ones. The only corner I've seen get a one-on-one interception. There's also, in the day I was able to do a thread of the videos on one-on-one, I'm pretty sure Jackson Smith-Njigba gets him pretty bad on a route that I think we put that in here the week we did that on the pod. So like, it's a little bit of like, he's a little volatile, but I do think what could give him the edge, Chris, to your point about him maybe taking that job, is the being pretty consistent on the play-to-play and then making the big play. Because like Richard Sherman would talk about this all the time. Make the play that, and when he says the play, he means like the play that changes the game. The play that helps us win. It's very helpful to just play good coverage. That's great. But that's where I thought like someone like Tariq was better than Sauce last year. It's like Tariq was making plays to get the defense off the field. Like, not getting thrown at. Although obviously Sauce had 20 PBUs as well. I'm not going to dismiss that, but you guys get the point. Interceptions are better than PBUs. So, and even in training camp, in these preseason games, Tre I think he had a PBU in week 1. Now he has this in week 2. It's like he's making the plays, whereas Mike's just kind of just solid usually. Although, Chris, yesterday Mike Jack was that. That's not the Mike Jack we've been seeing. Those plays that he gave up, it's not that he gave him up. That stuff we've seen him cover all of camp. Like this go ball that you're putting on the screen right now, like it's underthrown. Yeah, but it's like, come on, man, get your head around, Mike. Like, we've seen him do it. He gave up a slant to the same cat.
To be fair, he did get his head around. It was just late, and as you said, it was underthrown. He was just out of position. To be honest, he just ran by him.
He's expecting the ball to be on target instead of behind it. But like these are the slant he gave up, 4th and 4. Dude runs an 8-yard comeback. It's like these are plays you got. If you want to be a starter, you got to make these. If you want to be a starter and there's other dudes fighting for your job, you got to make these. He knows that. We don't got to like pile on, but those plays are not what we've been seeing from Mike. Like those are the type of plays where people probably looking at us in the media like, y'all sure Mike been killing it? Because that didn't show up. And we like, no, for real, he is. Even Pete Carroll last night, he was like, he's still playing well. He's still a guy we can count on. And I know why he used the word a guy we can count on. Because, like I mentioned, Mike kind of is really steady, just rep by rep by rep by rep, generally. That's why yesterday was like, who's this in this number 30 jersey? That's not the Mike Jack we know. Mike Jack, he might not have intercepted any of those, but the Mike Jack we've been seeing would have made sure all those were incomplete because that's what he's been doing in practice and against better receivers. This Jalen Tolbert guy, cool, but they're looking like Randy Moss. Like, come on, man. For real, like what is this? Is that guy a rookie? Let me see. Jalen Tolbert. Nah, he's not a rookie, but like he was out there looking special. Chris, I don't even know who this cat is. Like, he shouldn't have looked like that against Mike Jack. He should have had a stronger performance. And then when Trey got the interception, it was like, yeah, one guy's going one way, and then Mike probably had that was a bad night for Mike to be off.
Yeah, and you mentioned just for him being bad or not having a good night. The problem I think that also took place was that they were on big possessions. Chances for the Seahawks to get off the field. It's not as if it was 1st and 10 and you got beat with the goal ball. All right, whatever. 1st and 10, they tested you, you got beat. All right, these are scenarios where, okay, if we get the stop, we're off the field. We're getting into the offense. And they attacked him 3 different times. The first one, I said, damn, you got your head around, the ball is just underthrown, but he also did hold before. So to be honest, he probably would have got, if the ball was perfectly thrown, he would have got beat there because he was clearly holding. So he got a pass interference. So it's like, okay, that wasn't a good rep at all. Period. You just got beat. And he knows it. That's why he was holding. I watched the replay. I'm thinking, damn, bro, you got your hands all trying to slow him. Bro, you just got beat. And like you said, who is this guy? We don't know who he is. Just a bad rep. The second one, we don't have it in here, but they attacked him again. I think it was a slant or it was a slant.
It was a slant.
The Seahawks said, we're getting off the field here. It's 3rd and 7. We're blitzing. Damn all that. We sit in the house. And it's cover 0. So basically what that means is everyone's manned up. Immediately in my head, if I'm a DB, I know I have no help in the center of the field. Meaning if I get beat, if you cross my face, it is curtains. My hope is that I can at least get the tackle. But in that scenario, you don't even want to give that up. You want to try to keep him outside. It's easier said than done. These are professional athletes. I get it. But I thought Jackson just could have given, I don't know, an inside jab to just keep him, to just buy time for maybe the blitz to even get there. Maybe the pass gets deflected. Who knows? On that scenario, on that slant, it just didn't work out. The receiver almost dropped the pass, if I'm not mistaken. He bobbles it. And Jackson just couldn't make a play on it. And those are times where it's just, I need Jackson to make that play. As you said, Mike, he's done it in practice. You basically gave us a chart. Jackson has been very mellow. There's not he's not up and down. He's been he's steady. Every now and then he'll maybe get beat for something, but not to the magnitude of, okay, 3rd down, we're going to throw it at Mike Jack. 3rd down, we're going to throw it at Mike Jack. 4th down, we're going to throw it at Mike Jack. And he was not successful in any of those, unfortunately. And those where I think that's the most important piece here is that the Seahawks were trying to get off the field. And he was the sole reason why, unfortunately, they didn't. And that sucks. That stinks. When you're the guy they're testing you on 3rd and 7, 3rd and 4, and 4th and 4, and you don't help the defense get off the field. That is what hurts you. That hurts your stock. And he probably will get a chance again, but Green Bay, he's going to watch the film, and I'm sure he wants every single one of those reps back because he knows what he can do better. We see what he can do better. You've seen it in practice. He's just going to have to take that one to the chin and come prepared for that against the Packers, who I don't know who the receivers are. I know Christian Watson, the speedster. I don't think he's going to play. Dobbs, he might play. I'm not sure. But he's going to get tested again because guess what Green Bay is going to do? They're going to watch the film. They're going to see what they can do. Oh, it's 3rd and 7? Well, let's just take a shot on Mike Jack. Mike Jackson's going to have to step up and get a PBU. Maybe not an interception, but if it's 3rd down and 7, 3rd down and 4.
No, he should catch it. He should catch it.
Well, how about this? Make a play. That's all the Seahawks want you to do is make a play. And he had opportunity to do so. He just didn't have a great day in the office on Saturday against the Cowboys, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a good point about down the distances. That's huge. It's time to get off the field. Get off the field. That's where you're making money. Get off the field. Get off the field. That is where a PBU is almost as good as an interception. Like, because you're knocking it down on 3rd down. So, yeah.
They're punting.
Yeah, man.
Or
yeah,
the turnover
please.
on downs.
Yeah, that's one of those cases where it's not translating from practice, or like we were talking about with the rookies translating from college. What a guy is doing in practice or in college, not translating. Because yeah, that was even the last week. I think Jordan Addison caught that ball against Mike Jack. The Vikings just didn't challenge because for whatever reason. Because the first replay I saw said looked like they got it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to a bounce back game. The Mike Jack bounce back game week 3. Hopefully it's there. But that was some bad. From week 2. In that same vein, in the bad section of yesterday, it's not that he played because he didn't, but man, I really want to see Spoon out there, man. It's really unfortunate we're not seeing Devin. You know, he had the hamstring injury when he got drafted. He had the hamstring injury in OTAs or minicamp, whatever that was, and now he's got it again. Same leg. I think Pete said same leg, different spot. But to be fair, just to be honest, Pete Carroll, when it comes to injury updates, I'm just not. I'll tell him this. I'm just not confident when he brings it up because I swear, bro, it's just like he makes it seem like they got to amputate a dude's leg sometimes. It's just like, yeah, it's an unusual injury. I've never seen this before. And you find out the dude's knee is just sprained. Hell, what are you talking about? You see knee sprains every week. So sometimes when Pete says something, I'm like, man, hopefully this dude's not dead because it's just like when Pete calls something legit, I'm like, oh shit, that dude might never play football again. So anyway, I watching Trey, watching Mike, I just watching the good of Trey yesterday and the bad of Mike yesterday. It's just like, man, I really wish we could see Devin thrown in there too, because I do think you can throw Devin in there if he hasn't played in the preseason. I don't think you should do that against Sean McVay week 1. Because Sean McVay, he'll test your rookie. He ain't got no reps. Best believe that. And I think Devin would handle it okay, but you just put him in position to succeed, you know. But yeah, that was like when I was walking the locker room again. As you guys can see, I do a lot of thinking as I walk to the locker room. I do because I take the stairs. I usually don't take the elevator, so it just gives me time to go through my notes before I get in there. It's a lot of stairs too. I just wish we could see Spoon, man. I just wish we could because he's balling in practice too. Like it probably feels like if you're a Seahawks fan, like you see Jalen Carter playing for the Eagles and playing well, and then you're not seeing Spoon, and you're just like, oh, here we go again. It's Creed Humphrey and D.S. all over again. I don't think it's that, but I can see how it might feel that way, especially since he's playing nickel and not on the outside. But guys, trust me, when Spoon's on the field, it looks great. Like he looks ready. I've talked to some people like behind the scenes too, like off the record stuff. They're like, Mike, wait till you see 21 on the field. They just do that thing that like people do when they're really confident. They just stop talking and just keep nodding, and you wait to see if they're gonna keep talking. They just know. They just say, Mike, just wait till you see 21, and they're nodding. I'm just standing there like, am I?
Anything else?
Should I talk? I don't know. They're just walking off like, just wait till you see 21. I'm like, okay, I'm waiting. Tick tick. I would like to see. And I mean, don't rush him out there because you don't want a guy with a bad hemi on the field. But I thought that was unfortunate yesterday because that would have been nice to see all 3 of them get reps so we can talk about all 3 and compare. Because Spoon is a top 5 pick. You do want and need him to play. I think he needs those reps. So I thought that was unfortunate. I want to see him play nickel. I want to see him play on the outside. Like I want to see it all. We're just not getting those reps. It feels like every year there's always a high Seahawk draft pick who just doesn't play, in the preseason because he's hurt. So that's also in there in the bad.
When's the next time you're gonna wrap with Pete?
That's a good question. I haven't checked the schedule, but Tuesday? I do think Yeah, Monday or Tuesday we'll get an update. But again, it's Pete Carroll, dog. When he
Well,
gives the
hey,
update,
maybe he surprised you. Hey, Devin's gonna be playing the preseason game finale. There you go.
I just want to see. I have to see it, man, because I swear
I
he
hear
would
you.
make it. And you guys know. You guys listen to. You guys see our
I
tweets.
watch it.
You watch
Yeah.
the videos. You guys all know when Pete Carroll says something. Pete Carroll be like, "Oh yeah, nah, he's in the walkthrough today. He should get out there." And then the injury report comes out like 4 o'clock. Oh, did not participate. Y'all like, what the hell, Pete? That's why, if you guys notice, I am very clear about injury updates. I always say Pete said at the end, and like make sure this is who this is coming from, so you guys can take that with a grain of salt, because it's just so funny. He just be off sometimes, or just makes stuff seem way bigger than it is. Whenever he calls something unusual, I'm just like, oh my god, I really hope I had to take this guy's leg off because he had some unusual toe sprain that the staff has never heard of. I hope they don't have to go through that. But yeah, hopefully we get Spoon back out there, because he's been playing well too. And what you saw from like Mike Jack shows like, hey, that's why they consider taking a corner, because there is a guy, there's a higher ceiling to be had for a player out there on the outside. And Trey might have it too, so I wish we could see him out there. Chris, another thing that stood out in the bad section yesterday was, and this goes to week 2. I'm not particularly impressed with what we're seeing in the run game from like guys who will be starters. Like the backups have run okay. They ran okay in week 1, particularly in the second half. I don't want to mess up Thompson's last name, but 29 from last night. I have his name in front of me. I just don't want to try to mess that up. But like he ran pretty well yesterday. Like there were good runs, but like I'm talking like the first team guys. Like I don't think it's a coincidence that DJ Dallas's numbers from yesterday. DJ has 5 carries yesterday for 9 yards. Like one of them was a 1-yard touchdown. But other than that, you got 4 carries for 8 yards. You know, I think DJ's numbers also are particularly great in the first game. Even Zach Charbonnet, he had 3 carries last night, I think, for 31 yards. 29 of them, I think, came on that one big run. So other than that, he had 2 carries for 2 yards. And some of this is not just because it's not – I'm not blaming the running backs on some of these. Like if you watch Charbonnet's carries in particular, the blocking is just not there. Chris, when you saw it, when you watched the film in week 1 last week, there's a play last week. Ivan Pace Jr.,
Number
linebacker
40.
from the Vikings, number 40. Guy I liked at the Senior Bowl too, really physical dude. On one play, he takes out 4 people. One of them is his own guy because he cracks Phil Haynes in the chest, and that trips up Zach, who then falls into Evan Brown, who then gets pancaked by the nose tackle as a result. Like there's 4 dudes basically on the ground, all because of Ivan. And that was I think I forget what that run only picked up like 3 yards, something like that. But even on some of DJ's zone runs yesterday, it just wasn't there. On one of Zach's runs yesterday, I think D-Lou gets walked back by 97. I think the nose tackle or whatever. Yeah, I think he's their nose tackle for Dallas, one of their starters, I believe. Like you just can't have that. The run. So when you got guys like D-Lou, Phil Haynes, I think someone missed a block on one of Zach's runs yesterday too. Might have been Disley. I can't remember. It was on the left. I'd have to see the all 22 to know for sure. Point being, and you guys can see this too, that from the guys who are going to play, like I'm excluding these reps where you got Greg Island out there and Jake Curran and Stone and all those guys who aren't going to play, just because that's not, as while we're projecting for the regular season, it's just not useful to use them in the sample, right? That's fine. The guys who are going to play, though, I want to see more from the run game because, like you talked about, Chris, with the play action game, they're trying to mix them together. Like play action, run, play action, run, play action, run. Like you could see it. They were doing a lot of first down play action, they were doing a lot of first down run, second down play action, particularly with Drew Lock. And it was working. And then I wasn't seeing the successful runs. The nerds kind of won yesterday because it showed that you can run the ball and not have any success and still play action the hell out of the thing and throw the rock, which Drew Lock was able to do without much of a big running game outside of Charbonnet's big one. So, yeah, I would like to see that be better because a lot of it looked like just blocking stuff. It didn't look like a bunch of holes were missed or cutback lanes or something like that. It just looked like, guys are getting the ball. You can freeze frame it when Charbonnet gets the ball in his stomach, you freeze it and you're like, oh, he has nowhere to go right now. There's a linebacker in his face. It in 2 games, it hasn't been super encouraging. The overall numbers have been. I think they ran for 140 yards yesterday. I think 40 of those were Holt Nailers, who gave us a show in the second half. That boy is fun. He either runs it or chucks it. He had 1 check down yesterday. That boy either runs it or chucks it. He is great. Anyway, besides that, they ran for about 100 yards yesterday between the running backs, which is fine. But the guys who are going to play, we're not seeing it. Yeah, DJ Dallas in the preseason is 7 carries for 10 yards. Longest run, 7 yards. And I don't think that's just because DJ automatically just forgot how to run the ball. No, he didn't. Y'all got blocked. Same thing with Zach Charbonnet. I don't have his numbers for the preseason in front of me, but outside of that big run, like the reason he had to run over that safety is because the blocking didn't get to that safety in the box on one of those plays from last week. So let's see. Zach's at 7 carries for 45 yards. That's a decent yard per carry too. It helps that he had a 29-yarder. But yeah, Chris, in 2 weeks, I'm like, I would like the run game to be a little bit more explosive without Zach having to run through people's face, you know?
Yeah. I'll say this, and this I think is good in a certain way, because we've talked about this last season in the regular season with, can you win the game because of Geno? For all intents and purposes here, let's say the first 3 weeks, the Seahawks struggle to run the football. But on the bright side of things, Geno is improving where he struggled in the second half of the season. He wins those 3 games. I think that is a good thing for Geno to have early on in the season, where the team needs him to get victories, and he has that confidence where, okay, the run game ain't working, but now I can sling the rock, and it doesn't matter. We're scoring touchdowns. We're moving the ball. The running game, we can figure it out as the season progresses. We can make adjustments. We can figure it out. But because I am able to carry this team, as Geno Smith, that is, we are winning games. Now, obviously, the schedule is just not going to get easier. The case may be teams are going to have more film, et cetera, et cetera. But if Geno can actually come out and win games, Geno just took another step, because that's something Geno hasn't proven, that he can just be the reason the Seahawks win. Now, I know that's looking at it glass half full.
That's the most glass half full thing I've ever heard in my life. The run game sucks, but we got Geno.
There you go. That could be where things are going. Now, obviously, no one wants that. That's a lot to ask. It's not like Geno's Patrick Mahomes is like, hey, we can't run the football really. But every now and then we might pop one. But then it's like, well, we got Patrick. Just throw it to Travis, throw it here, touchdown. It don't matter. All I'm saying is, if Geno has improved and the Seahawks do struggle, and they have the weapons of JSN, DK, Tyler, screenplay to Zach Charbonnet.
No, I know you're getting a script. I'd rather them just keep running it into a brick wall than try these screens, dog. It's just not. No, man. The better comp for what you're saying is probably Herbert. Those guys have not been able to run the ball well, but they're competitive.
Good call. Okay, so yes,
Herbert is just slinging that joint.
So if there's a way for Geno to do that with the weapons he has, maybe the Seahawks can still get wins, which is still a problem, because you want to be able to run the football effectively. You don't want to just have guys running out there into brick walls over and over again, not gaining anything from it, and the defense is thinking all they can do is throw on us. They can't stop it. It don't matter. But that's kind of the glass half full that I'm looking at when you were breaking down. I'm kind of concerned about the run game coming into week 1. The Rams, I don't know how they're going to be. I mean, they still have Aaron Donald. They'll have a healthy offense. Perhaps maybe the run game flourishes week 1. But if it doesn't, now is the chance for Geno to prove that I'm that guy. I can win you a game. I can win you a couple games. I can throw the ball. Screw the run game. Give me the ball. I will make things happen. And that would be, okay. Now, Shane, how are you going to get the run game to work now that Geno is slinging the rock? So that's just one thing I thought of when you were talking about your concerns with the run game.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great, but it's not ideal. Like, you want to,
no, it's not,
because they're gonna run the ball. So when they do it, they should be good at it. Yeah, I just haven't been. I would just like to see more. You know, it's like the bloopers from Rush Hour 2. He's like, we'd love to see that. We'd love to see that, Jackie. Like, yeah, I just love to see just love to see more just from it because they're running the same type of stuff, like the cutback lanes just aren't there. Some of the wide zone stuff, particularly against the Vikings. Jonathan Bullard played really well against them in week 1. He was just blowing stuff up in the backfield. The backside, I feel like some of the blocks yesterday were pretty solid. Just like the front side, I feel like wasn't. But yeah, there was good blocking on DJ's touchdown, the 1-yarder. I think Will seals a defensive end really well. But in general, when I go back and look at the starters in the run game, I'm like, okay, this is just okay, but this is not a team that can hang its hat on running the ball, which I know these guys want to. I've talked about this on the show before. They walk around the facility with hats that say "run the damn ball," on the front of the
execute,
the
guys, execute.
Yeah, so this is what they want to be able to hang their hat on. I was great to see the explosive passing game yesterday without some really big run numbers, at least from the starters. But yeah, you don't want to lean on that. Credit to Geno, though, like you said, although I'm not just going to hope that he plays Superman. But I will say this. Whereas a lot of the play action stuff with Drew Lock yesterday, Geno really didn't do any of that. Geno continues to play what I like to call big boy football. Geno gets back there. I think the first play, I forget what the first play was yesterday. Might have been a run. But the second play, they went no huddle and went into empty.
Yeah.
And Geno, I was like, this is great. Yeah, the first play was a run because they were in 13 personnel. And then right after that, they're just like, we're going empty. It's like, whoa, big boy ball folks, right here.
What's 13 personnel, Mike?
Oh, it's a 13 personnel, 3 tight ends, 1 receiver. The receiver was Jackson. And they went empty, and then Geno just sits in the pocket, surveys, and then hits Disley. I think he picked up almost a first
9
down.
Yards,
yeah, because I think they did a QB sneak right after that. But Geno operates like that, and I do like that about Geno, that he's not. It's not that play action is bad. Everybody should use it. Geno,
I don't think he's dependent. He's not dependent.
Yeah, he's not dependent on it. He can do it, but he's not dependent on it. Where I think some quarterbacks, I think that's different between different between Geno and Jared Goff, for example. Both of their numbers were great last year. Fantastic. Goff had a great year. You go watch the tape and you're like, okay, Goff is looking like LA again, where they are just play action the hell out of the ball. O-line is great. Run game is great. And he's hitting the throws that he's really good at. That's not bad. It's just different. Whereas Geno's like, all right, we're going to go empty. All right, I'm changing stuff here. I'm hunting. Yeah, this check down is open underneath, but I like this deep shot, like on the Bobo play you talked about. Yeah, 2 underneath options open. Screw that. Bobo's, we're going to get the 30-yarder. Geno played that play was also, I think that was out of shotgun. With both feet in the end zone when he threw that ball. So that's I didn't mention that in the good earlier, but Geno still looks great. Really accurate. Like he should have been 6 for 6. Derek dropped the 1. The sack, I think Charles Cross gets beat on the sack that Geno takes. That's probably fall in the bad section. Cross should have held up there. But I think, Geno has been really encouraging. He just needs that. And they get the run game going with him. I mean, they didn't have Kent Walker, so maybe we're making too much out of it. But I think they should still be able to run it with DJ and Zach. DJ looked really good in last year's preseason, for example. And this year, he's not getting those same holes. And Zach's really not getting them either. But you see what happens when he does. So, that's something I wrote that down. I was like, we'd love to see that, Jackie, next week.
I might just put that clip in there.
We'd love to see. But don't get us sued by whoever the movie company is.
You're right. I don't want to play with that. It's okay.
Yeah. All right. It wouldn't even sue us because it would take too much.
What you mean, man? They want all their money.
I ain't paying them shit, so I just don't want to get the letter in the mail. But that was not. Yeah, the run game there, I was not impressed by that. Nor just the O-line depth in general. But I do think if you watch other preseason games around the league, that's everyone's problem. No one has backup O-linemen. That's just not. The gap between starting O-linemen and backup O-linemen might be the biggest gap in the league besides starting quarterback to backup quarterback. The gap is just massive. And everybody has that issue. So I don't think that's just a Seahawks thing. I think everything else we talked about is Seahawks specific, whereas O-line stuff, you're just like, everybody's an O-line injury away from being screwed for the most part. So that's not just Seattle. But I want to see the run game get picked up. Next week, I'm going to be paying attention to that real close as I watch the game from my house and not Wisconsin, because hell no. I'm going to be paying attention to that very close. And I want to watch the broadcast because apparently Mike B's up there killing it. And I have not had a chance to sit down and listen to it yet.
It's great. You're going to enjoy it, man. you might get lost in them talking. Sometimes I'm listening to them talk. I'm like, I'm supposed to be watching the game and paying attention. And sometimes I'll just float off into, oh, what just happened? I got to rewind it because I missed something. But those guys are phenomenal on the broadcast. I know the 12s enjoy it. Hell, I'm enjoying it. And you will too, Mike. Anything else you want to add, though, before we get up out of here?
Yeah, this is not neither good nor bad. Just a shout out, man. I think the offensive linebacker room, or excuse me, the outside linebacker room is coming together. I see it. I see the vision. Talked to some coaches and some players behind the scenes, mostly in the offseason. They was like very similar to that Devin Witherspoon like nod and silence move. They were like, no, we got the dogs in the line in the edge rush room. DT, Boye, D Hall, Chenna, like they've got it. And then Tyreek Smith yesterday played really well, I thought. Not even I thought. Everybody knows that's a fact. He played well yesterday. So that's why he was up on the podium yesterday too. That group, they're in good position with that group. Not just because of the talent, but just because of the depth, I think. Like like last year, if Chenna wasn't on the field, probably wasn't shaking. Like that's why they had to go get Bruce up off the couch last year, Bruce Irvin. This year, they don't got to call Bruce. Like they can call Bruce if they just want to chat, FaceTime, say what up, miss you, brother, or something like that. But they don't got to call Bruce to come play 60% of the snaps again. Because I think they'll be fine with D Hall. They're definitely going to be fine with Mafe. Mafe's hooping. Tyreek Smith had a really good day yesterday. We know what DT can do, and then Chenna's a beast. You already know there. Like that's 5 solid dudes, especially for what they're all making. All those guys are on second-round contracts with the exception of Chenna, who got the bag. So you got one guy getting the bag, 4 young dudes on cheap deals. Tyreek's a 5th-rounder, but you guys get my point. I think that room is in really good shape. Better shape than I thought going into the draft. I feel like I went to the draft kind of skeptical of that room. And now it's not they added a bunch of new dudes, but maybe I just need to see them to really feel like, okay, Boye's making that jump. DT's DT, Chenna's Chenna. They just needed one more piece in D Hall, and then boom. Now I feel great about that room. I still want to see it against the Packers, particularly D Hall. And I want to see Boye get a sack too. But Chris, they have some talent in there. I feel about that room kind of the way I do about the corners. Like they just got like 4 or 5 dudes who I just feel good about. Like
sometimes that's all you need, man. 4 or 5
young dudes too.
For the future, for the present. That's all you want to hear is those guys doing their job, and hopefully that results in wins, sacks, because they want to get that sack number up. Although they finished pretty strong last year. So
yeah, they're 7th in sacks last year, but yeah, they want to get that number up.
So get that number up. Hopefully Darrell Taylor comes back and he's healthy and he gets going week 1, because that's what you need. You can't have him week 13 or week 11 or 12 getting it going. You want him from week 1 alongside Uchenna, Boye, and all the other gentlemen you talked about. So side note, before we get out of here, we are at 2,971. That means 29 more people just need to follow us on YouTube and subscribe to our Man-to-Man channel. We know you're listening on Apple. Those numbers are good and up. YouTube is up. So how about you just hit that subscribe button? You keep coming back, so just subscribe. It's really simple. I know you're listening, so you're watching and listening. So if you haven't subscribed, just go ahead and click it. I know you're like, I don't want to be notified. I know you guys drop every week. How about this? Just subscribe. It's really simple. You see how, look at that. Easy. You did it. Bam. We're almost at 3,000. So get us there. We should be there by week 1. It's literally 29 people. How many days before the first game? What is it, like 23 or something, 22?
That's too much math, brother. I'll just take your word for it.
2 subscribers a day. Just 2 subscribers. Someone. Click it. I know you're watching it. If you haven't, do it right now. Mike, is there anything you want to add before we get out of here?
Appreciate the love. Always, you guys. There's no pod without you guys tapping in on whatever platform you guys are tapping in on. We appreciate it. Week 3 coming up next Saturday. Again, I'm not going to Green Bay, so I'll be at the couch. I'll be on my couch, just like you guys will be at your crib. We'll watch it together on TV as a big old happy family and see whatever Mike Bennett wears next week. I cannot wait to see it. Until then, we will catch you guys, man. Seahawks Man to Man podcast. We are out.